Blackmagic has bundled yet another program into DaVinci Resolve. In DaVinci Resolve 18, the new addition was called the Blackmagic designed Proxy Generator. If you have the studio version, if you have the free version, it's the Blackmagic Proxy Generator Lite. They both do the same exact thing. It's just that the export settings are slightly different when it comes to format. So yeah, you can use it if you have the free or the studio version. And so I'm going to go over the whole workflow, how it works. Accompanying the proxy generator, there was also a whole new workflow within DaVinci Resolve when dealing with proxies. So I want to kind of go over that because that has been quite different and it makes things a lot easier now. And you don't have to deal with like linking or anything like that. So it's pretty cool. If you don't know, and people can skip over this if you already know what proxies are, but if you don't know what proxies are, pretty much we're just going to be taking large files. We're going to then transcode it into a file that is significantly smaller and typically doesn't look as good. But the idea here is that we're going to have a file that will play back on our system really, really fast. And the video file itself isn't going to be the thing that slows down our system. We're going to take these large files, especially if you have production cameras like that one, take these large files, make them extremely small so that you can edit it on pretty much any system, as well as being able to send the proxy files to someone else so that they can edit a smaller file and you're not sending over terabytes of video files to someone if they're just doing the editing. When it comes to color grading, that's a little bit different, as well as compositing, that's a little bit different. But majority of times that you're going to be using the proxies is when you're editing. So let's just jump over and I'll quickly show you. When you start up the proxy generator, it looks like this. It'll initially ask you what file or what folder do you want the proxy generator to watch. But for now, I just canceled that so I could show you what everything looks like. So the idea with the proxy generator is that you're going to have multiple, either one or multiple locations, so different folders. It's going to be looking in those folders for files, and if they are video files, it's then going to try to convert them. If it's a video file that, let's say, DaVinci Resolve can actually read, that's the same sort of stuff that this proxy generator will be able to see, and it's going to then transcode it into whatever option that you have set. And you can have multiple different files. And while the proxy generator is open, it's going to continuously watch those folders. So let's say you were bringing in a whole bunch of footage and you had the proxy generator pointed to that, and you have someone else, or maybe at a later point in time, you are ingesting more files into that project folder. Well, all of those new files that go in, the proxy generator is going to be watching it every couple of seconds. And once there's a new once there's a new folder or file in there, it will then go through the process of transcoding that for you so that you're not going through the process of, okay, let's transcode these 10 files and having to pick settings. It's all automated. We're just picking the location. So I'm just going to pick this as the location here. So I'll just grab that and we will just add that as the location there. And so now it's just sitting here at a waiting status. We can just simply come up here and hit start, and we have some options here. Now these options are going to be a little bit different if you're on Windows or Mac. I don't believe that this currently exists for Linux, but I think it will be coming out soon. But for now, if you're on Mac, obviously you'll have the options of like ProRes and stuff like that. But on the Windows, these are our options currently. This could change, at a later point in time. They could add more, but this is what we currently have. So we can do half res, we can do full res, 8-bit or 10-bit, and this is H.265. So you have those as options. I'm not entirely sure what the light version is, but like I said, they work the same, just a couple less options when it comes to what the files that it'll spit out is. So I'm just going to hit start here, and that's just going to be monitoring this particular file. As you can see, the location of this is actually a NAS device, which is on my network. So it's just a network attached storage device. just think of like a Synology or a QNAP, something like that. I have some old videos talking about my system, but it can be any device that's mounted onto your system. It could just be a hard drive on your system, to be completely honest. It doesn't have to be network attached storage. So that's kind of my setup here. Now let me open up the file that we're going to be working with, which is this one here. So we have this little file here, and I don't know how long this is. Maybe, I don't know, 10 seconds. And this particular file, if we take a look at it, is 824 megabytes big. So just think about this. If we're sending a whole bunch of files to someone else to remote edit, sending one 10-second clip almost a gig big is going to be crazy when we're working on larger projects. It can be terabytes and terabytes, right? So that would take a little bit of a time to actually pass that information by. But so instead of doing with that, we can just send them the proxies, and I'll show you this whole workflow and how it works. But the idea here is that it's going to be monitoring this particular folder. Don't worry about that little pop-up just because I have the network attached storage. And the proxy generator is going to continuously look in here every couple of seconds. It'll look in there to see it. Oh, now it's seeing it. Now it's going through the process of converting that. So now we have this little proxy, and in here we have a file. And as you can see, the size of this file, it's 10 megabytes big, right? And compared to the size of this file, which is 824. So that's the type of savings that you can have. And this file is going to look just as good. It's not going to be as good, but you know what I mean? Like that's completely fine to actually edit on. Now, don't mind it being out of focus. That was just my shoddy editing, editing, my shoddy filming. So now that I have that there, I'm just going to add in another one just so that we have multiple files, because I want to show you something that happens when we have multiple files. So currently it's going to look for that and then bring that. Once it finds that other file there, it will then process that. And once that's done, I'm then going to take these two files and drag it into my DaVinci Resolve. So let's go over here. I'm just going to take just these Blackmagic raw files, and I'm going to drag them into our project. Just asking me if I want to change frame rate. Yes. One thing that you'll notice is that there is this new little icon here, right? So I can show you, it gets a little bit bigger down here when I bring it down. We can see that there's this new little icon. Typically, when we bring in a video clip, I can bring one from the original place, not the where we were doing everything. But if I bring in a normal file, we can see this is how it normally looks, right? But there's this new little icon here, and that's actually that whole new proxy. So what DaVinci Resolve is actually looking for is once it pulls these in, it says, hey, is there a folder in there that is marked proxy? Oh, there is. Is there files inside that have the same exact name? Oh, there is. Okay. And they're the same length. Okay. We're then going to be able to match these up. So if we are on the cut page and we are working with one of these files, as you can see a little icon down here, up here we have the ability to change how that proxy interaction works. So what this really means is when we add in those files and they have the ability to have proxies, the proxy can be missing, or the source material, the camera originals, can be missing, and we can still edit. So we can send the project to someone, send just the proxies, they can edit the project, not have to worry about relinking anything, just send me back the project file, and then everything will be linked up for me as well. I can then switch that from proxy to camera original and then go into color or composite, whatever I want to do, and I don't have to be worried about offline media for me because someone changed something, or the editor, you don't have to worry about anything. It is super powerful, especially if you're working with people that are remote. If you're working by yourself and you have the proxies, well, boom, you're working in proxies, timeline's fast, editing's fast, you have multiple layers, everything's fast. You then go over to color, and you are then working with the camera originals because you want to be working with the highest qualities. When you're working with the color, you don't want anything compressed. Or if you're doing compositing, you're working with those originals, and it just works back and forth. So let me quickly show you. Let's go back over into here. So I currently have these here. Let me quickly save this. Blackmagic Proxy Generator. And we'll hit save on this project. So now I'm just going to close this project. We can see that we have these two here, right? We're going to close this project, and then I'm going to just turn this off because I don't want it to keep monitoring it and notice this. But I'm then going to then delete both of the camera originals. Proxies are still there. Camera originals aren't. So you are the editor. You're just getting the proxies because you don't need to have the other ones. And now I'm going to start up DaVinci Resolve. And when DaVinci Resolve started up, I'm just going to jump right in that project. And we're going to be able to edit right away. There's no offline media. Then I put those originals back in and I'd be able to switch. And yeah. The other thing too is because it says preferred, if one of them, when we're in the proxy mode, if one of them is missing, you don't have to be concerned because it'll just go back to whatever is actually available and we'll start working with that. So if we have 100,000 clips, okay, that's a lot, 500 clips, and some of the proxies are missing, some of the originals are missing, we can still work on our whole timeline, and DaVinci Resolve in the background will figure out which ones to use. And we're just saying, okay, I prefer to be using this one, but if it's not available, then obviously use the other one that is available. Okay, so now I am back in DaVinci Resolve, and one thing that you'll notice is now I have this little purple bar going across the top, but I'm able to edit, right? If I was to turn off proxy mode, obviously it's not going to work because media is offline and it can't find the source material, but the proxies work. If I put this over to source, it's still going to work, but obviously it's just pulling the proxies, right? And so, yeah, that's how that works. Now, I guess one other thing I should note here is if we were to go over to the edit page, remember that this icon's up here. If we go over to the edit page, it's not going to be here. So how would we get access to that? All we're going to do is come up to playback, and then we have this proxy handling, and right there are the same exact options. If we turn it off, obviously we have offline media because it doesn't know where the source is, but we could go into proxies or the camera originals, and we can start to edit. No problems. Don't have to worry about things not being there. It just works like it is. I would then, or you as the editor would then finish this, hit save, send me back just the timeline or the project file. I would then bring that in and boom, everything would be updated. Now, obviously this kind of plays into working with the cloud tools that were recently talked about. You do have the ability to have all of the Blackmagic cloud, like project server and all of that, instead of passing back and forth files. But yeah, that's how it works. That's how the proxy generator works. And now we have a purple line above all of the clips stating that this is currently a proxy file and the original isn't actually there, but we can go through the whole process of still editing it and working with it as if all of the files are part of the project, even though that I am, on the other side of the country and my internet's slow, so I can only download the 10 megabyte file instead of the 800 megabyte file or whatever it was. I guess the other thing that I could say is the proxy generator can be sitting on an additional system somewhere else, and it doesn't have to be on your system. So let's say you're editing, you have someone else doing the ingest into that network storage, and then you have another computer, maybe a network rendering system or just another system that isn't being used in the office. You could have the proxy generator on there, and that will just consistently monitor all of the different locations, and when it sees something, then it'll start working, and you don't have to have another program on your system. Obviously, if you're on an editing system and something else is consistently rendering in the background, that's going to slow down your system and kind of defeat the purpose. If you are working in a environment that has multiple systems, you do have that as an option and just let it run on one of those other systems. If you are working with just a single system, you could just run it, and then once it's run, then you have all the files. Oh, the other thing that I guess I should show you here. Let me quickly start up the proxy generator, is the options that you have down here. So you can extract the proxies. So all it's going to do is just make a duplicate of this folder in another location. So you could have extract proxies and then have it go to, let's say, like a syncing folder, right? So if you have something to like a Google Drive or a Dropbox, you could actually have that export to that file or that folder on your system. And then obviously the client would then be passing it up, or if you push it to another folder. But I just wanted to show you that. There's one additional thing that I want to show you about this proxy generator and deleting proxies, because maybe we want to get rid of all of our proxies and, you know, clean up our project so that we could archive or something like that. There are some actual measures in here that will stop you from deleting proxy files if the original isn't there. So if I was to hit stop, right, and let's say someone along the way, you know, we had 500 files and someone actually deleted one of the source files. So let's say we went in and one of the source files was deleted, right? So we have two proxies here. We have 78 and 79, and we only have 78 here. What it's actually going to do, and we hit delete proxies, we delete it, we can see that the proxy folder is still here. And that means that the 78 is going to be removed here, but 79 wasn't present over here, so it doesn't remove it. Just in case that might have been the only one that you had left, it's not going to remove anything that doesn't have the camera originals right there. So if I was to re-add, I believe it was 79, if I was to add 79 back in here, and so 79 is the only one that's left, I then went in and I said delete, it would automatically then delete that because the camera original is there. So that's just one of those little measures that Blackmagic's looking out for us, especially if someone accidentally deleted a camera original, and you just want it to remove all of the proxies, but you know, you then learn, oh, we lost one of the originals. But yeah, so I just wanted to show you that little thing. I thought that it was a very well thought out, very small thing, but it definitely well thought out for sometimes files go missing, and it would suck to render out something and then notice that there was a file missing, and then you delete it and then you have no access to those files. So just wanted to show you that, but I think that kind of covers everything for the proxy generator and how it works. Hopefully you guys found this interesting. If you do want to know more about DaVinci Resolve, I have a whole website with a ton of courses, right around 30 hours currently, and a bunch of pre-made assets. Actually, if you want a free title or pack of titles, I have some stuff on my website as well that you could take a look at. But with that being said, my name's JR. Thanks so much for watching. Till the next one. Peace.